You're listening to the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour with Blaze and Ken. And now, Blaze and Ken.
Hello, welcome to the Silver Phoenix Happy Hour. I'm Blaze.
And I am Ken. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We have a guest tonight that I'm super excited about, and
Mhm.
I think you might be a little curious about, actually.
I am. I really am. I have so many questions. So many questions. So tell us what your week's been like, what's going on. Let's start with a wonderful, great win by the Giants.
Yes.
Uh, I watched the game and it was, I think it was the biggest comeback since like the 40s or something. Um, it was unbelievable. What a game. It really
I
was.
you know what? As great as that was, I gotta also say I feel bad for the Steelers.
The Steelers.
Yeah, did you see what happened to their running back?
No, I was like, they weren't playing the Giants.
No, 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 no.
It confused me for a second.
This guy is amazing. He took a hit so hard because they couldn't catch him, that they actually dug down and went for the legs, and they took his knee and bent it backwards in a 90-degree angle,
Oh my
and
God.
he is done.
I'm sure he is. That's awful.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
you know what? I didn't watch that game. Listen, I told you I'm playing fantasy, but I'm playing survivor leagues. So, so it's like more intense and crazy that it's a must win, can't use the same team twice, that type of thing. And I had the Giants for 2 of my uh,
This
sessions
you know
there. And then I had who else did I have? I had the Giants and oh, you know what? I went Bills just because we had gotten knocked out with Seattle last week for one of them. So I was like, let's play it safe for the one that, uh, and listen, at the end of the day, it's all about I partner up too. So I have one guy that is with me on 2 teams and then one that was on 2, but now it's 1 because his instincts are off this year. I don't know. I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to but his instincts just seem to be a little off. He picked the wrong team this week too. And luckily I said no to the Lions or else we would have been screwed and out. So I
you know
put my foot down.
I never played fantasy football, and
Yeah.
this season, I'm glad I don't because just after the first couple of games this season, there are so many injuries, so many possible career-ending things going on. It's like any
Yeah.
man's game, like anything could happen. Like I'm not betting on anything at this point this season.
No, I hear you. Well, here's a good bet though. Have you watched? Now, there's 2 shows. I'm into Japanese television right now. Before, I think like a month ago it was Korean. Now it's Japanese. So I watched One Piece, the live action, and I also watched Alice in Borderland, which is an older one, but I hadn't seen it and I didn't realize that it came before Squid Game. So to watch that and with just kind of fresh thoughts and not thinking about Squid Game is so amazing. So good. Really, really good. Super
So,
impressed.
so let me ask you then, real
Yeah.
quick, because One Piece is a Japanese animated show that's been on
Yeah.
forever. Actually, there's so many episodes. Like, are
Yeah.
you watching that, or are you watching the new live-action Netflix show?
Yes, so I've been watching the animated version for a while. Matter of fact, wait, I'll show you my Luffy.
Luffy.
I got the old it's actually all of them. I love it. It's Luffy, Nami, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all Roronoa, Zoro and all of them. It's not going to look as nice now because I messed it up, but but yeah, so really enjoying the anime, but then as soon as the live action came out, I was like, "Ooh, I'm so curious. What are they gonna do? How are they gonna do this?" I watched the entire first season in 2 days. It was easy to watch. Honestly, the first couple episodes, I was like, "Ho hum." Like, I just wasn't
I
sure
was
where it was
curious,
going.
like how does that even translate to live action? Because it's well, first off, the show's been on for so long and there's so many
Yeah.
stories, but it's just like where do you start? What storylines do you pick up? Like how does that work?
So the good thing is they start from the beginning. So you're not missing anything, and even if you've never watched the anime, you can still totally pick up the live action and understand what's going on. You just have a little more insight if you're actually a fan and either reading, the manga or, actually watching the anime. So yeah, I first couple episodes I was like, I'm not sure about this, but then it really like picked up. The bad guys that they were introducing, Buggy's one of them who I love. And but they follow pretty closely suit. So and we only get to see 5 characters in the entire first season. I'm not giving anything away because if you're following they don't really go out into the open ocean on this first series. So I'll be curious if it gets picked up for a second season. I haven't read that it has yet. Definitely big.
Well, it only just came out a couple of weeks ago, so
Yeah, but I definitely enjoyed it. My favorite character, Nico Robin, isn't in this first season, but I wasn't. It didn't bother me at all. I love Sanji. I love Rana Zora. I love Nami. Like Luffy, of course, and then Usopp. I really liked what they did with him as well. So he wasn't as annoying as he is in the anime. But yeah. So and I just kept thinking about Vic Manonia
oh
since
yeah.
so done One Piece and yeah, and was a guest on our show. So
Actually, you know what? It's kind of weird. That was the other some of the other viewing I did this week. I was on
yeah.
YouTube and went down a rabbit hole with Star Trek stuff. Um, there is a new web series called the Avalon Universe for Star Trek, and it looks like they're using Vic's soundstage or sound studio where they shot Star Trek Continues.
Okay.
He's on as a producer, of course,
Wonderful.
and he's actually found ways to put himself in little cameos. So
Nice.
one of the shows I had watched over the weekend, he actually played a Klingon,
Okay.
and it was and he shows up at the end, and it took me a minute, like, hey, wait, I know that guy under all that prosthetics. It's
Right.
Vic.
That's amazing. I just loved him anytime I think about that show that we did with him. It was
Yeah.
just it brings back such great memories.
Hey, listen,
Awesome
any
costume,
chance
like
any chance I have to wear a Captain Kirk outfit, I'm down for it.
I know, and
That's
me
just
and
how it works.
Akatsuki, so you gotta love it. And I saw what you did there, by the way, when you said go down the rabbit hole. I saw that because Alice in Borderland rabbit hole. I
Yes.
got it. I got it. I just letting you know I picked up
I'm
on it.
looking out for you, Blaze. I'm looking out for you.
Yeah, you got it. Well, listen, I think it's time to go in the kitchen with Nicole. So why don't we go ahead and segue here and roll that clip?
Let's do that.
What's up, Ken and Blaze? Listen, if you want to be naked in your kitchen, that's your business. But let me tell you what doesn't want to be naked, and that is your salad. Whether it's greens from the farmer's market or something out of a bag like this or a clamshell, I love the convenience. Let's not be afraid to use some salad dressing, okay? Why? Because the fat in the dressing is going to help with the nutrient absorption of some of the vitamins in here, specifically vitamins A and K. One of my favorites happens to be the Japanese style Makoto, which I think you will absolutely enjoy. It's a nice ginger base. Hope you'll go out and try that. So remember, things like our vegetables, especially those with vitamins A and K in them, like our leafy greens, like carrots, a lot of vitamin A. Let's put a little fat on there. Don't be afraid. You're going to get so much more out of it. Ken and Blaze, back to you in the studio.
She does it every week, right?
I have no idea how she does it.
Cheers to
She's
Nicole.
incredible.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers. Mm. Well, I think I'm going to give you the honors for this week's guest introducing because I believe that you know her and you. So I'm not going to give any more spoilers. Go ahead, do it. All you.
I present to you a woman of all trades. She is a performer. She is a dancer. She is a writer. She is a producer. She is an actress. She's an all-around awesome person. May I introduce to you Ula Uberbusen?
Hello.
Hi, hey.
Hi. So nice to meet you, Ken. I think you forgot one thing because in my research I read ukulele player. So
Yes, I forgot about yes.
That is also true. That is true.
Ula, you and I go back a little bit. I did a show called The Loudest years ago, and you were on that show. And
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to get to see you when you were in Jersey performing. And I have to tell you, I was blown away. Your show is incredible.
Thank you.
I had so much fun. I was actually very new to the idea of burlesque at that point, me personally. And for that to be one of my first major experiences, I loved it. I had a great time. And the way your show works, I laughed my butt off for an hour. And so for that, I have to say thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Now, listen, Ula, for anybody out there that's watching that doesn't know what burlesque is, can you just explain what burlesque is? To keep it super simple.
Okay, yes. To keep it super simple, the simplest modern description of burlesque is theatrical stripping. There's one thing that I want to say that burlesque is not. And because this is what comes up when I speak to people who have maybe seen the movie Burlesque,
Yep.
which is burlesque is not that. Although that isn't actually what I was going to say. I mean, that movie is really fun and really campy, but they're not doing striptease in the movie. And in this day and age, and for most of its history, burlesque has involved striptease. And but what happens is people who have maybe seen the movie or have some idea that it's like, oh, like dancing around in sparkly costumes with feathers. Burlesque is many things. It's gonna involve striptease, and it is not better or worse than what you see in a strip club. It's just different because it generally involves something like a theatrical a storytelling element. It's just a different experience than in the strip club, but you're seeing naked bodies or nearly naked bodies.
Right.
Right.
Well, let me ask
Right.
you too, because when I saw your show, one of the things that I love with your approach to how you set up a show, there's a very vaudeville type aspect from what I saw that I appreciated, and a very comedic tinge to it. And first off, let me tell you, you are very, very funny.
Thank you.
And please don't take this the wrong way, but when I saw it, like one of my all-time favorites is Elvira. I love Cassandra Peterson, and I got an incredible Elvira vibe to your presentation of humor, and they're very similar. And again, that's why I enjoyed the show. It made me laugh so hard. And let me ask you, where does some of your comedic chops come from?
Okay. Well, I I've taught some comedy classes on request, and when those classes were requested, I was like, I don't know how to teach it. It's just that I just do it. But I realized I do have a lot of training as an actor, and you learn things about comedy when you are trained. But I think that my dad was very funny and very witty and very smart. And so I learned a lot from him. And one of the things, though, that when I was a kid, my mom did not let us, she was very strict about what we were allowed to watch, movies and television. We're not allowed to watch anything, PBS, and that was it. So when my when my mom wasn't home, my dad would put on Blazing Saddles, and he would say, "Watch this, learn what you can, don't tell your mom." And I and I feel like a lot of my comedic sensibility comes from watching that movie and that kind of movie, that really smart political social commentary. It's clever, it's witty, and also it's stupid.
Yeah.
Like all of those things. And in terms of burlesque, I mean, since I was a kid, I didn't know what burlesque was. I didn't even know the word, but I wanted to be Madeline Kahn in Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
wanted to do that. And I think that is that sensibility is what I then ended up bringing to what I do in burlesque.
You
Right.
know what? It's funny you bring that up. I was always a huge Madeline Kahn fan too, and there's something brilliant about her performing "I'm Tired" in that movie, because there's so many layers, comedic layers to it. Like when you analyze it, you
I
know, it's
know. It's one of my favorite things ever, and it never gets old. And I've been watching it since I was a child, and I have always loved it. And there's something, I don't know how you teach comedic timing. I think you learn it, you practice it. I don't know where I learned it. I've been doing it since I was little. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Right.
You
But
know,
yeah.
and I would say having mentors like Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder and Madeline Kahn, those are great ways to actually learn comic timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Plus I mean, I had read that you have your BFA in acting from University of
I do.
Miami. You have experience with the Shakespeare Company. You have, what else? The list is so long. Did you ever do Gypsy?
No, no,
Okay.
I did not.
It's
I never even saw it when I was a kid,
really
like, or a teenager. Yeah, it wasn't, I had no experience with it. I didn't know anything. I knew nothing about burlesque. I'm telling you, I knew nothing. I grew up in theater though.
right.
And I think in college is when I finally saw Gypsy. And I don't even know if I think it was like just in one ear out the other about like what it was really about.
Right.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well, we bring up, you have a theater background. Where did
Mhm.
that start, and how did you get involved?
Yeah.
So there was a professional theater in my hometown. I grew up in a very small town in Tennessee, and it has a really great, the theater has a really great history. And I'm like, you don't need the whole history of the theater, but there was a Broadway actor, and he married a Broadway costumer, and they moved back to where he was from, which is my hometown, and started a theater. And and initially I think it was a community theater, but they it became a professional theater. And so, but they still worked with the community members. And so they would bring in professional actors, do professional theater productions. It did not become a union house, but it was generally considered to be one of sort of the top non-union regional theaters. But they would use local kids, and also just generally local people. And my grandmother, though, was in the very first production that they did when they opened the actual theater building, because
Oh,
before
wow.
that they
Nice.
were doing shows in the auditorium of the junior high. And my grandmother was a singer, and she was not a professional performer by any means, but she loved to sing. And she was one of the leads in the first show that they had written. They wrote this show about Tennessee, and she played one of the main parts. And my mom and my uncles were all kids, and they were in it. So it's a thing that my family was all involved in the theater. One of my uncles ended up becoming a professional actor, and they all were singers and musicians, but they did not become professionals. And so then when I was raised in the town, I was given the opportunity, to do theater. And actually, my father was working there when I was born. He had been a professional clown. Um,
Oh, wow.
before I was born, he was working as a social worker and then doing clowning on the side, and he was working at the theater as an actor and working in the scene shop. And so like there were all of these connections to the theater. So then when I was 7, I was in Peter Pan. I
Mm.
got to be a lost boy, and I loved everything about it. And I was allowed, initially I was told I could do a show every other year. And that lasted, I missed the next year. And then from that point on, I was in a show every year, because
Oh,
all I wanted to do was to be in a show all the time. And my mom was like, I mean, my parents really supported it, in that they drove me to the theater, and it was a thing that my mom had done when she was a kid. But my mom did not want me to be a professional actor. She, I mean, it was this sort of thing where, they were progressive, sort of like hippie types, and it was like, you can be anything you want to be. You should be a doctor," like that kind of thing. And I didn't want to be anything but an actor. It was the only thing I ever wanted to be. I wanted to be on stage. So, and here I am.
Yeah.
let me bring up, because we're talking about some of the fun things that we gravitate towards. And the first time I saw your show, one of the acts that you had in there, and me being a classic movie fan, you performed a rendition of Sisters from White
White
Christmas.
Christmas.
And it's one of my all-time. It's my go-to Christmas movie. My mom and I
Me
still watch
too.
it together every year. And seeing it, I don't. Well, I think it was like in maybe the end of summer or September, maybe when you did that show. So nowhere near Christmas
Yeah.
and
No.
performing it. One of the
Yeah.
greatest joys I ever saw. Seriously, like not expecting it at
Yeah.
all. And when the fans came out, I was like, wait a minute, is she doing this? This
Yeah.
is so awesome. So, like, how do you like? Where does the idea come from to fit something iconic like that into a show and competing? Like, assuming that you're going to be able to pull this off. Where does the confidence come from to pull that off?
When I was a teenager, I think one of my friends who was doing theater with me, I think we did it for a talent show or something, and then we ended up going to the like regional talent show with it. There was some reason I had sung that song as a kid, and so I was like, what song do I already know? And like it's an easy like go to. I don't have to learn a new song. We have a lot to put together because we were putting together a whole show to take on the road, and we wanted to do group acts, which is not a thing that usually you get to do in burlesque because we're all solo artists and we book ourselves out as solo acts. And so when we go on tours, when we can put together our own show and we can do group acts. And so it was trying to come up with what can we do that's a group act? What fits the aesthetic of this show that we're putting together, which is this sort of throwback, has this vaudeville feel. We're not trying to do the more modern, like progressive stuff. We're trying to do stuff that makes you feel like of an era.
Right.
And so that was one that was easy for me to think of. And I don't think anybody else had any other like ideas. And it was like, well, we're going to put this like this is in the holding place as an idea. And then nobody had thought of anything else. And so it was like, well, great, we're doing this one. Like that's, but I mean, there's a little bit more to it than that because it is something that fits so well into a burlesque show. It's kind of in the movie itself. I mean, they're not stripping, but they're hinting at it. Like they are in that movie. It sort of gives the impression that if you were seeing this, if it wasn't a Hollywood movie version of this, they might have actually been doing a burlesque act. They were doing a fan dance. I didn't know that watching it as a kid, but now thinking about it, it's like, well, they were, as much as anybody was like, let's put on a show and save the theater. Like, I don't think that really ever happened, but
Right.
And let me ask you, because you're actually referencing the actual Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye version of it, right?
well, I mean, they were. I don't know.
They were definitely wearing less than the girls.
They
actually
were wearing less, and they had those little headbands on.
Now, did you have a choreographer that helped you with that, or and in general, do you use choreographers or no?
We are the choreographers.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So for that act, we have I think Rosie Cheeks choreographed that. Rosie of our tour, we try to divvy up, according to who has the most experience with any given skill that is needed. And we all have experience with all the skills, but Rosie, I think we felt had the most skill as a choreographer. And I mean, it's like on one hand, any one of us could have done it, but I think that Rosie was the best at doing a group choreography, We
Right.
love her acts and her choreography for herself. And specifically, she is the most classic dancer. She herself has basically been a showgirl, doing like off-Broadway tours and stuff. She did the Will Rogers Follies, I think was the
Oh, that's
show that
very
she was
heavily
in.
danced. Yeah.
And so she, I think she's the one who choreographed that. And I mean, Rosie, I could do it. I could do an hour talking about how great Rosie is and all of her skills. But like, everyone brings something to the table. And while we all do our own thing as solo artists, and sometimes you might decide, okay, I'm going to pay somebody to make my costumes because like I can't sew a garment, but I'm great at rhinestoning. Um, and I can sew straps, like, but I can't follow a pattern. Whereas, Rosie's an amazing costumer, and like, oh, it turns out Hazel's an amazing costumer too. And, but it's who wants to do a job. Like, I can choreograph. I don't want to. I have choreographed musicals before, but I don't, it stresses me out. Whereas I would much rather do the, I would much rather make spreadsheets and email venues and work do the like production side in that sense,
Right.
and do the more like big picture booking the tour than the choreography. Teach it to me. I want to dance it, but I don't want to think it up.
Right. So
So
I know that you have, speaking of the venues, I
yeah.
saw a lot of stuff coming up for you in New Orleans. So can you talk about some of the dates and locations?
So I'm living in New Orleans now.
Oh, okay. There we
Oh,
go.
okay.
There we go.
So that's
Perfect.
the easy answer is yes. The
Yes.
dates are in New Orleans because this is where I live. I moved down here from New York City at the beginning of the pandemic. Um, Crazy story. I actually was on the road in 2019. I was on a tour in Iceland, which was very exciting,
Oh,
and
wow.
I like to brag about. I was doing shows in Europe, and then I got to do this like tour within Iceland. I performed there a few times. It's one of my favorite places to go and perform. And I was so looking forward to being back at home in Brooklyn in my apartment and just like having some time at home. I hadn't been at home for a full month the whole year. I've been in and out of town, in and out of town, which is a great problem to have. But I was like, I just want to
Yeah.
be like still. I got home, and then next day, a huge chunk fell out of my ceiling. And I live on the top floor. So I could see the sky. And it was
Oh
like
my
raining
goodness.
into my apartment. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh my God. So my landlady, I had like a slumlord. She was refusing to fix things. It was just a constant struggle. And then my whole ceiling fell in, and I was like, oh God, okay. So I made this deal with her where she'd pay for a storage unit while she fixed everything. Everything went in storage, and I had a few months. So I was like, I'm going to go to New Orleans as this sort of trial run because I wanted to split time between New
Mhm.
York and New Orleans. So I was like, I'll do that. And then I have 3 months on the road in 2020. So I go spend some time in New Orleans, go do my 3 months on tour, and then go back to New York, do my stuff there, like my move back into my apartment. And then at the end of the summer, I'll go to New Orleans and find a place. And that's like, that'll be my, assuming I like it, I'll split time. So I do my trial run, decide I really like New Orleans, go back to New York, and I am not in my apartment. It's not fixed. And I'm literally just staying with some friends while I'm rehearsing one of the tours. It was 2 tours back to back, and lockdown starts, and the tours cancel. And I was like, suddenly, I was literally living out of my car with only costumes and like sweat clothes because I was supposed to be on the road, and like nowhere to live and no job. And I was like, oh my,
Oh,
what just happened to
Oh,
my
my
life?
God.
And I mean, everybody had a version of that because it was stunning. I mean, like everyone's lives were so altered. And I was so fortunate because I had relatives that I could go stay with. And I I had enough money in the bank, and I had people to take care of me and to stay with, and I didn't have to pay rent. Like I was fine. But it is shocking. And to be like, well, now I'm living in my aunt and uncle's basement and I don't have a job, and like, what just happened?
Yeah.
So my like glamorous, like touring the world, to I live in a basement. So and I
Wow.
have no job.
Wow.
So I spent a couple months in the basement, and then I was like, I can't do this. I'm gonna find a place to live. And 2 months into the pandemic, finding a place in New York City did not seem like what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I went ahead. I was like, I'm going to go to New Orleans, where at least I can be outside and walk around and do at least that, because everywhere's still locked down. But at least I can have my own space and like I was like, I don't know, I'm going to get a cat and just like live till I just die or something. I don't know. Um it was dark times. So yeah, I moved to New Orleans. I started fostering kittens, which actually was wonderful. And then they never fixed my ceiling in my apartment, so I let it go. And now I just live in New Orleans. And it's not how I pictured things happening, but it's been great. It's been great.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm in some amazing shows here. I'm in my full-time show here. Uh, my like consistent, basically my weekly gig is a scripted burlesque musical. So it's like fusing my old career, my previous career, shouldn't say old, the one I had before burlesque, which was
Yeah.
as an actor, and my career of doing burlesque all together. So it's great. I love doing it.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, that you were able to come back from all that too. Uh, in the burlesque community though, did you have people that you gravitated towards or talked to during the pandemic too, just to kind of be like, hey, listen, we're all kind of in this together?
A little bit. I'm a really big isolator.
Okay.
So I had lots of people that I could have called, but I didn't very much. There was a performer here that I was able to rent a room from. I lived in the New Orleans School of Burlesque when I first moved here, while I found a place. So
Oh
like I
wow.
interacted with those folks a little bit, but we were all distancing. And it's not that I didn't talk to anybody, but I didn't tell people I moved here,
Right.
because I don't I just was like, I'm just gonna hang out with these kittens and like. So yeah, I mean, I have friends and I do talk to my close friends, but I didn't like keep in touch with my work friends, the people that I usually just sort of see backstage and keep track of that way. I just I did the thing where I was like, I'm just gonna like hunker down and wait it out, which is not, I don't think, the best way to do things. I think a lot of people did that, but in hindsight, keeping in better touch would have been better for my mental health, but I didn't do that.
I don't know. You know what? It almost sounds like you and I are kind of similar in a way. Like I love performing. I love being like a character and having fun at shows and stuff. But like when I'm home, I don't answer the door for people. I don't pick up the phone. I really like, yeah, yeah. I just like shelling myself in sometimes actually.
Yeah,
I was I
yeah,
was
like
thinking more of it like, you since you had left New York and you were starting a new chapter, I was looking at it like a new chapter. And sometimes when you start a new chapter, I just did it myself. I just moved from New York to New Jersey, and and I left all my friends in New York basically, and not left them as in I didn't keep in touch, but less touch, I guess. Because I am starting a new chapter, and I did feel like I needed some time just to like set in with myself and see like what I want of this chapter. How do I want to open this chapter? What do I want to what are the things that I really want to accomplish? And so that's really so I understand that kind of new chapter thing and kind of going inward a little bit, to then figure it out. So let's
Ironically,
segue.
isn't that
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
would say ironically, isn't that how this show started?
Yeah. Yeah. So one, I was going to just ask, we ask of our guests some questions just to get to know you a little bit better. So I actually want to put you on the spot
okay, I'm
and
ready.
see if just in a seated position, can you teach Ken and I
Uh-oh.
something burlesque related. Just a quick little little thing. Just a quick little seated here, just show us something to do that you would do on his show.
Yeah. Yes, I can. Wait, I can do a thing. Let me see if I can teach a thing.
Okay.
Ooh,
Um,
I'm excited.
yeah, sorry.
she's doing it
Sorry.
right now, actually.
Doing it right now. Okay, so I'll tell you. One of my favorite. It's not a specific move, but like given. Okay, so we're all wearing like a shirt,
Yeah.
right? And so one of my favorite things to do on stage, and this is a very burlesque tease kind of thing, is to um basically to like just like touch my costume like I'm thinking about what to do with it. And so like you can do this, and it's much more about the acting than any kind of dance. So you can definitely do it seated. So it would be like a and I'll you have put me on the spot. I'm like, how do I teach this?
I'm
Um,
just looking at Ken. I'm waiting for
I'm like,
you can,
do I have to
you can
do
this.
whatever we're doing? Now,
You can do.
now I'm
I
worried.
realize
Yes,
that like
yes.
if people are only listening to this, I also should like convey this in words instead of just doing it. So if so like so I would like touch. I'm big on touching like collarbones or like face, which is uh not really doing. I'm not. It's not a dance move, right? But it's a thing. It's a like breathing, huge intake of
Yeah.
breath, and then just a slow like, what does my shirt feel like? And so if you like look away and they go,
Come on, Ken.
It actually just it reminds me of Marilyn in a way, actually.
Yeah,
Like
it
all those
does.
famous photos of her like with her hands on her
yeah,
face and yeah, caressing and yeah.
yeah. So like, okay, so you have a mic on your face, so don't touch your
Yeah,
face. Like
yeah.
just like touch
You're
the
right.
edge of your shirt and look away and touch the edge of your shirt, and then just move your hand slightly as you look towards the camera and just go, yeah, yeah.
I just giggle. It's so unsexy. I just start giggling.
Giggling is totally sexy. Giggling is
I'm one of
totally
the
sexy.
I am one of the unsexiest people. Don't worry about it. I'm good.
Okay, I was doing it while I was telling you. Now you guys do it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna watch you.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
Okay,
Uh,
so
uh,
let me just.
uh,
I'm gonna tell you your movements.
Okay.
Okay, these are your movements. Don't do them yet. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna like look away, just like gently, like down and away a little bit, and you're gonna put your hand on the edge of your shirt, and then you're gonna move your hand slightly as you look towards the camera, and you're gonna do a little intake of breath. So look
Okay.
down and away, and then look towards the camera, move your hand slightly, and breathe in.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I felt it. I felt it in my loins.
So
Did you?
when I was
Did
a
you feel
kid,
it?
I did feel it. That was really cool, actually. I was like, yeah, I totally felt that. That was awesome. When I was a kid, I did a talent show, and I was in the talent show. I'm a singer too, and but I was singing, and this was a song from my music teacher. Thank you, Sharon Nanny Ritchie. But she picked a song from Sweet Charity, Big Spender, right?
Love that song.
So all I know is that I'm an innocent kid. I'm 8 years old, 9 years old. I have no idea what I don't pop my cork for every guy I see means. I have
Wait.
no idea. So, but I remember, and my brother still to this day does that because I did like a so refined, it was like, and I got banned from the talent show because I went to Catholic school. I totally got banned. I mean, I think I had to do something else. I ended up singing something else, but it was hilarious. I was wearing this like yellow costume that I wore from dance school or something. Like it was so
Yes.
funny. And looking back now, I wish I had it on video, because it would definitely be on like America's Funniest Home Videos. Here I am, like so refined, no idea what I'm singing about,
Yeah.
no idea about the lyrics. It was amazing.
This is hysterical because I've helped you get out of bad dates before. That's
Yes.
how good our friendship is, and I've never heard that story.
Yes. Well, I think it was the like looking aside, I thought maybe you were going to do
Yeah.
like a shimmy or something, like teach us a
Oh yeah, I
shimmy.
could have done that.
Which I'm so glad you didn't. I'm so glad you did something different. But yeah, that's amazing. All right, Ken. So that was my first question. So now you're up.
So again, I brought up I loved that I got to see you perform the Sisters Act in your show, and you coming out and saying that you're not a big Christmas fan. Me too, actually.
I am a
There
Christmas fan, just for the
there
record.
are I mean, there's certain things I get in the spirit for. No, there are some things I'll get in the spirit for, mostly TV specials like the old Rankin and Bass stuff. One of my favorites is The Year Without a Santa Claus. And my question is there a way for you to incorporate the Heat Miser, Cold Miser song into an act?
Oh,
I don't know the Heat Miser,
oh
Cold
my
Miser
gosh.
song.
Oh, we are
I
gonna
just
set that up
had
for
like
you.
major
Wait, wait,
vision of
wait.
what you would do.
Maybe. Hold on. Pause. Maybe I do know it because I've seen somebody do an act to it.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's like
Sing me a
I'm
little.
Mr. Heat Miser,
Yeah.
I'm Mr. Cold, or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
I just saw somebody do an act to it like a couple months ago.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
So
I
yeah,
was just
the answer is yes. I've seen it. I just saw somebody
yes.
do it.
All right, questions back to me. Back to me. Oh, what's your like go-to song that you really love? And I'm not talking about in a show or anything, but just in general to get you pumped up, that always energizes you. Is there a song that you like to listen to?
Yeah. Yes.
I can't wait. And will you
Yep.
share it with us?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, I will. Yeah. Don't Rain on My Parade.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a whole like playlist. Wait, I'm just gonna,
Yes,
if I
please.
may,
Yes,
I'm gonna
please.
read you like the top. If I can pull it up really quick, I just want to like read you the top few songs. This is the my like get ready for a show playlist, which my tour mates, whatever tour I'm on, I require them to listen to this, and they're like, I hate you. The playlist is called it's the day of the show, y'all.
Yeah.
And the first song is Don't Rain on My Parade, Barbara Streisand.
Mhm.
The next song, I don't know if you'll recognize this because I saw it on an episode of a TV show and was like, what is this? Got it. Got the song. It's like the only song by this artist that I listen to. It's called Long Live the Chief by Jadena.
Mm.
I
It
don't know
was
if I
on
know that
an
one.
episode. It was on an episode of I forget the TV show right now. I forget. Okay. Next is Formation, Beyonce.
Mhm.
Bitch Better Have My Money, Rihanna.
Nice.
Those are the first songs. And like after that, there's some other like up songs, but like that's
Yeah.
Well,
what
well,
I listen to those on repeat.
well, the Rihanna song has to get you prepped for after the show to make sure that you're getting paid, correct? Is that how that works?
Well, yeah, that's well, depending on the show, I will actually put that on the post-show playlist. Like that's the first song the audience hears. Assuming that I'm not doing a specific like the show you saw, you did not hear that song because we have
Right.
a aesthetic that we have going through all of the playlists that the audience hears. But if it's just like a regular weekly show, that's what the audience hears. While we go around like with the tip bucket, we're like, yeah, hello. Pay me what you owe me.
All right, so down to me with the last question, and what we like to ask our guests is the same question. Actually, is kind of what ends the show. What piece of advice can you give to someone who is starting out in burlesque?
Okay, so if you are just starting out in burlesque, my advice is to take whatever classes you feel like where you want to learn something, whether it's dance, whether it's costuming, whether it's acting. Don't listen too much to what other people have to say, their opinions. Um, take encouragement and take positive feedback, and but put on stage what makes you feel good, and don't worry about uh, challenging everything in your first act. You will have so much time to create everything interesting. Just do something that feels really good to begin with. And also, don't use burlesque as therapy. Go to therapy, work out your issues off stage, and then you can make an act about it. But don't try to do your therapy on stage, because it doesn't go well.
Wow.
That makes
Yes.
that's
Yeah, it makes a lot of
excellent
sense.
advice. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Ula. This has been a pleasure having you here. I'm so glad that we got to meet. Thank you, Ken, for setting this up too, this interview up. And I'm going to actually put your website up, and that will have the list of where you're performing in New Orleans, right?
Yes, it has my calendar. It has a link to my Etsy shop if anybody wants to buy pasties. I sell them on Etsy. Real bona fide burlesque pasties. And yeah, if anyone's in New Orleans or visiting, I do a lot of shows here. So my calendar's on the website.
Any chance of getting you back up here in the tri-state area anytime soon for a show?
Yes, I don't have a trip scheduled right this second, but I was just up there this summer, and I'm hoping to come back up soon. I really miss the city, so I want to visit as soon as I can.
Well, do us a favor and keep us posted, because if it happens, I would love to come back and see you on stage again.
Will
Yeah,
do.
me
Thank
too,
you.
for sure. Well, thank you so much again, and best to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having
Take
me. This
care.
was
You're
great.
welcome. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
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 All right.
So I told
Yeah.
you she's
Oh, I
awesome,
loved
right?
her. I loved her.
She's
Yes.
so great, and
Yes.
the amount of stories she had. I really think we could have done an extra hour, to be
For
honest.
sure. I
Yeah,
looked at the time. I was like, "Whoa, how did that
yeah, I
time
know.
get there?" Like, wow. No, it was amazing. So thank you so much. That was and I love the fact that she's the first burlesque dancer performer that we've had on the show. So I love that we have, a little nice little mix of lots of different people. I love
I'm
that.
telling you, if it wasn't for the fact that I had saw that show with her, like, again, I fell in love with her from the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
the show was incredible. It made me laugh. Um, and again, we brought up there in the interview. We talked about her doing the sisters from White Christmas. We talked
Yep.
about Madeline Kahn, like all the things that she gravitated towards as a kid. Me too. And it makes sense in a weird way. Believe it or not, seeing her burlesque show almost kind of felt like a warm blanket, because it was a lot of the stuff that I kind of grew up with, seeing it
Right.
contemporary now. It
Right.
was awesome.
I forgot to ask her one question. I wanted to know if her name was like real first name or if that was a stage name and what it means. I think you kind of hinted at what it meant before, but
Yeah.
I forgot. We'll ask her next time.
Yeah. So,
Sounds
well,
good.
on that note, I think that's going
Yes,
to do it for us.
it is indeed. So cheers, everybody. Thank you so much to Nicole for the wonderful In the Kitchen segment, as usual. And thank you so much to our guest, Ula Uberbusen. And to you, my friend. And we'll see you next week.
Love you, buddy.
There.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
He's Mr. White Christmas. He's Mr. Snow. He's Mr. Icicle. He's Mr.